go. We're winging this a little bit because I suddenly realised I need to do some printing. So I've literally just been upstairs printing some stuff for this because I did my podcast today, and the problem I was talking about on the podcast, which is the issue with the plumbing, is now resolved. The one I was talking about earlier actually is now resolved. So and I'm actually in quite a good mood, and I'd quite like to get some more stuff signed off. So bear with me, because I'm rushing around. But I would quite like to get a little bit more signed off tonight. So if I can get another 3 chapters done tonight... Oh, I just dropped my iPad, that wasn't clever. If I can get another 3 chapters done tonight, that puts me on chapter 12, which leaves me... Let me move that there. Which leaves me 21 left to do on 7 days, and that's got the average down to 3 a day, which I can do. On a good day I can do 4. Today I'm going to do a lot more than that, hopefully, if I haven't broken my iPad. So, where's my phone? Oh, God knows. Right, hang on, because I kind of rushed this because I wanted to get it started. I'm not actually ready yet, so I need to get... That can be muted. I need to... Can't even see. Let's get that working, so that's working. Where is my phone? Hang on. Stupid. Right, it's there. Let me just find one other thing, and then I'm basically ready to go. I don't want to talk about... Oh yes, the remote control. So I can see what I'm putting out on my television. Ah, there it is. I knew I'd seen it. Sorry. Oh, ain't this good, this making it up as you go along nonsense. So let me just get myself up on in the background. So Twitch. It's muted so you won't hear. Let me move that there. Let me move that there. Right, and then so I can have myself up on to see what's being put out. Sorry. Right, and then I can actually now make sure that messages are getting through and that I can see any messages that come through, and then I can start. Professionalism, don't you just love it? Create a dashboard, stream manager, and minimize that. Send a test text. And that's appearing all in green today. Right, so my plan today is quite simple. Rather like me, quite simple. The audio stream, by the way, the the Twitch writing audio stream is on. So if anybody would like to message me, you can do it through the Twitch text system, or you can use that QR code to get to all my socials. And one of the things you can do on that is physically talk to me. So there is a live audio channel open on my Discord server. If you join it, your voice will be heard in this. So please only join it and chat with me if you're happy with your voice to be on the live stream. Right. So I have with me here printed chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and possibly 15. But all I really need to do is sign off to 12, and then that gets me where I need to be today. If I get to 12 tonight and I'm still feeling good, I might carry on, but I should be okay, because so I have actually written through and effectively signed off up to and including, not signed off, I've read through up to and including chapter 15. Now, I did have a note about chapter 15, but let me just check what it was. Okay. Excellent. Right. So let's crack on straight into chapter 10. I'll be reading, you will be able to see the text on the screen, but only when I make any adjustments. So I'll be basically doing this off paper, reading it out Any adjustments I make, I will write on a piece of paper and then adjust on the screen. I'm not anticipating a lot needing doing. Yes, earlier in the day, not that much needed doing. These have been worked on several times before. So let's pop you on that view and let's make a start. Oh, no, let's not pop you on that view. Let's minimise that, then pop you on that view. That was a mistake. And let's just close half these documents down and open up the correct one, which is chapter 10. Okay. Right then, so now let's pop you on the correct view this time. So, chapter 10, a history lesson. Rebecca was waiting at her home. She received Saywood's text at 10:05 and was expecting her to arrive by 15:15 at the latest. When she did not, Rebecca was a little nervous, but reasoned that Graham may have asked her for a last-minute favour. Last-minute job, because that sounds a bit seedy otherwise. So I may have asked her to stay for a last-minute job. At 10:30, Rebecca tried to call, but it went straight to call her. I'll do that again. Rebecca was waiting at home. She received Saywood's text at 10:05 and was expecting her to arrive by 15:15 at the latest. When she did not, Rebecca was a little nervous, but reasoned that Grandma asked her to stay to complete a last-minute job. At 10:30, Rebecca tried to phone her, but it went straight to voicemail. She was worried now. Rebecca phoned the supermarket and the call went straight through to Graham, who said that Saywood had finished her shift on time and left a few minutes later. Rebecca was frantic now. She wanted to go outside and follow the route that Saywood usually used, but she was too scared to leave the flat in case this was some kind of trap. In tears, she picked up her phone. Of her friends at university, her closest were a couple called Noah and Leslie. They were on her calls and shared many lectures with her, and they're also part of the group of friends that Saywood had recruited to help keep Rebecca safe. Leslie answered the call. Hi Bex, are you okay? I'm thinking that paragraph about them. Oh, hello. I managed to, yeah, it's all sorted, it's all done, and I kind of want to get, there's a kind of certain point I want to get to tonight, because that means I've got on average 3 chapters a day to do for the next 7 days. If I don't do them, it's not a problem, but, you know, it gets me closer. So I'm going to try and do, I reckon it'll take me about an hour and a half. I want to try and get 3 more signed off tonight. However, I have just located a little bit that actually would work better in a previous chapter. So I'm now going to just have to... is it that one? That one. Yes. Oh, do you know what? Because of everything that's happened today, I haven't done, but I'll do it this evening. I haven't recorded the segment. So yes, we're absolutely fine to do it. But because of everything that's happened with everything, it pushed me recording that segment out of my head. But yes, I shall do that. Okay, cool. Well, we'll see how I feel, because it won't take very long. It's only a short clip. Right, let's just see if I can pop this into here. So I'm thinking the bit that I'm taking out of this chapter could sit there. So let me just read this, because they planned their day in the cafe. They got home that evening, they looked through breakfast for the next few days, called a select group of local friends to explain what was happening, ensure that she was never alone between lectures. Now I see, of their friends at university, The closest were a couple called Noah and Leslie. They were on her course. They were on Rebecca's course. She had many lectures with her. Right, then let me just make sure that makes sense because I really don't have to edit this again. They planned their day while sitting in the cafe, then walked together to the campus. Saywood took Rebecca directly to her first classroom and then went to her own. Once in class, Saywood ensured that she was the first person to leave her lecture room. She sat next to the door whenever she could, then raced to Rebecca to walk her to the next lesson. Although on a couple of occasions it did mean that she was late for her own. When they got home that evening, they looked at Rebecca's schedule for the next few days and called a select group of reliable friends to explain what was happening, ensure that she was never alone between lectures. Their friends at university, the closest were a couple called Noah and Leslie. They were on Rebecca's course and shared many lectures with her. For the first couple of days, Rebecca either cried or was angry or both. That's fine. Sorry, I've just seen that you've said something. You've managed to get, oh, that's good, 800 words of your short story written today. That is good. I assume that is good. That is... what are they normally? About 5,000 words? I can't remember how long they normally are. About 5,000 words? So is that like chapter 1 or a big chunk of chapter 1? Brilliant. So now the reference to Leslie and Noah is already in. This one is going to be a short one. That's allowed. It is a short story. Okay, so let me just do that again. Breakfast in the supermarket and the call went straight to Graham's and finished on time left a few minutes later. Rebecca was frantic now. She wanted to go outside and follow the route that Saywood usually used, but she was too scared to leave the flat in case it was some kind of trap. In tears, she picked up a phone and called Leslie to call Leslie, who quickly answered. Hi Bex, are you okay? Not really, Rebecca replied. Saywood hasn't come home. She texted me just after 10 to say she was on her way. She only works 5 minutes up the road. I can't get hold of her and I don't know what to do. I want to retrace her steps, but... You don't feel safe, said Leslie. All right, Noah and I will be there in 10. We can walk the route together. How does that sound? That's brilliant, thank you, said Rebecca. Keep the door locked until we get there, instructed Leslie. I'll text you when we're walking up the stairs. At 11:15, Rebecca's phone chirped, and a moment later, Leslie and Noah were at the door. They were an unlikely couple. Leslie was a member of the university's women's football team, had a strong build, with long blonde hair, brown eyes, and an infectious smile. Noah was tall, gangly, with messy dark hair and green eyes, and looked like he was still in his teens. Rebecca was waiting with a coat and scarf on. Can we go straight out and walk to where Saywood works, she asked. Of course, replied Leslie, giving her a brief hug. Back on track. The three rushed down the stairs together and out across the car park. They crossed the road, all of them looking up and down the street. Rebecca wanted to run, but Noah calmly suggested that if they hurried, they might miss something. They all had their phone torches switched on and were carefully examining the ground. After a few minutes, they came to the alleyway that cut through to the parallel street containing the shop. Leslie shuddered and Noah put a comforting arm around her shoulder. I'm not sure I'd want to walk down there on my own, muttered Leslie. I'm not sure I'd want to walk there. I think I'd just put a contraction in. I'm not sure I'd want to walk down there on my own, muttered Leslie. I'm sure Saywood always does, though, said Rebecca. It cuts off the corner and pedestrian crossing. It saves her a few minutes of standing at lights. I have told her not to. Let's walk both ways, suggested Noah. I'll do the alleyway. I'll do the alley. You two walk the long way around. I'll meet you at the other end. Leslie nodded and grabbed Rebecca by the hand as they continued up the road, torches bobbing as they did. Noah turned and walked into the alleyway. The only light sources were at either end, so it was very dark. He pointed his torch onto the walls and then moved it down to the ground. The tarmac was pitted as though it had not been maintained for years, and there were plenty of deep puddles. The brick walls on either side were tatty and spattered with occasional graffiti. There was litter everywhere, from empty crisp packets to broken beer bottles. Do I need to do from to? Probably not. There was litter everywhere, including plenty of broken, I'm just going to say bottles. Don't need to say beer. There was litter everywhere, including plenty of broken bottles. Or should I just say broken glass? Glass. It was starting to rain again. Noah pointed the torch back to the path and hurried on. About halfway down, he noticed something on the floor next to the wall. He leaned over. It appeared to be a polished stone with a cord coming out of it. It was not wet or dirty, so it had not been there for very long. He bent down and picked the object up by the cord. He examined it under the light from his phone. The hole in the stone did not seem to have been drilled through. It had been naturally there before it became part of the necklace. I'm not sure I like how that's worded. Right then, the hole in the stone did not seem to be drilled through. It had naturally eroded then been turned into a necklace. Does that make more sense? Hole in the stone not seem to have been drilled through. It had naturally eroded, then been turned into a necklace. He shoved it into his pocket and continued his examination of the floor. Now reached the end of the alley a couple of minutes before Rebecca and Leslie. "Anything?" asked Leslie. "I found this," he said, pulling the stone from his pocket by the cord. It swung from his fingers, and Rebecca visibly paled. "Oh my God, that's hers. That belongs to Saywood." Noah nodded. "So she came this way." "Exactly where was it?" demanded Rebecca. Noah walked back into the alley, the two girls following him. After a couple of minutes, he located the spot and pointed. "There," he said, "right up against the wall." All three of them swung their torches around, and Leslie let out a little gasp. Just across from where Noah had found the necklace was a handprint in the mud. Noah leant down and looked at it. "It's a small hand." Rebecca started coughing. Leslie patted her on the back, and Rebecca bent over. As Rebecca bent over and was sick. "What do you think we should do?" asked Leslie. "I think we should call the police," said Noah. "You walk Rebecca home, I'll wait here. They don't always respond straight away to missing persons, though, do they?" "I'll mention the stalker," said Noah. "Hopefully they'll take it seriously then." "Can I have the stone?" asked Rebecca. "Sure," said Noah, handing it to her. "I have been careful. I've been. I've been careful only to touch. Oh, that's good. That's a good idea. "Sure," said Noah, handing it to her. "I've been careful only to only touch the top of the cord where the knot is." Leslie raised her eyebrows. "Fingerprints," said Noah, acknowledging her unasked question. Rebecca took it from him carefully, pulled her pocket open, and dropped the necklace into it. Leslie hugged him, and Rebecca did the same. "Come on," said Leslie, grabbing Rebecca by the arm. "We'll wait inside, in the warm." They retreated down the alleyway. Noah stood in the thickening rain and telephoned the police. Mr. Locke trying to muscle his way into the story as well. He's so embarrassed about how long he's been absent for, you know. Rebecca and Leslie dashed through the downpour to the stairwell, up the stairs into the flat. Rebecca let them in, then sank into the sofa. Leslie sat next to her with an arm round her shoulders. A few minutes later, Leslie's phone rang. It was Noah. "Let her down gently," Leslie said. "They're not coming tonight. They're too busy. I mentioned the stalker with their attitudes, but cannot have been that worried or we would have called them before. I have an instant number, and they said they'd come and see Bex tomorrow if Saywood had still not turned up by then." "OK," said Leslie. "I'll tell her." Leslie ended the call, then turned to face Rebecca, carefully repeating what Noah told her. "I think you should spend the night with us," she said. "Not here by yourself." She stood up and tugged Rebecca to her feet. "Come on." "Let's help you pack some stuff." Rebecca spent the night on Leslie and Noah's sofa. She hardly slept and kept trying to call Saywood, but every time she did, the call went to voicemail. She managed to close her eyes for a few hours, but failed to sleep. Rebecca was in no fit state to do much that Saturday morning. No. Noah and Leslie offered to cancel their plans and spend the day with her, but Rebecca declared that she felt safe outside in the daylight. When Noah and Leslie went out shopping, Rebecca made her way into the city centre. She stormed up London Road and crossed over that she was on the same side as the railway station. As she approached it, she slowed down when she saw the main entrance archway was full of flowers and pictures of the teenager that had taken her own life, the teenager that Saywood had tried to save. Rebecca sped up and crossed the road and onto crossed the road. I'm going to lose the second and. Rebecca sped up and crossed the road onto Granby Street. The sight of the flowers made her cry again. She strode as purposefully as she could towards the charity shop, only slowing down when she got to the side street where it was located. She realised she had no idea what she wanted to say and walked up and down the street in front of it before finding the courage to go inside. She pushed the door open. The shop had been trading for just under an hour, and there were no customers inside. Rebecca strode up to the counter and pulled Saywood's necklace out from the pocket of her coat. "I need some help. Can I speak to Geraldine? It's about Saywood. She's gone. I don't know where she is." The man shook his head. "I'm sorry, Geraldine isn't in today," he said. "She's been looking into some information Saywood gave her." "Saywood is missing?" Saywood nodded, and the man shook his head. "How distressing. My name is Jagvir. I know that someone will want to talk to you. I assume that you are her friend." "I'm her partner," said Rebecca tersely. Jagvir smiled. "I was not trying to downplay your relationship. Are you happy for someone to come and visit you at home?" "Can't I talk to someone now? My colleague in the back is not someone who knows you, or about you, or what Miss Saywood told us about Mr. Sosey. You can speak to them, but I don't think it will help you at all. If you could give me a contact number, I'll make sure someone who understands the situation telephones you." Rebecca blinked and a tear ran down her face. Jagvir looked sympathetic and stepped out from behind the counter. "I'm not trying to fob you off. I just want to make sure the person you talk to is in a position to help you." He patted the back of her coat as he spoke. "I can get you a mug of hot tea or coffee. Would that help?" Rebecca smiled a watery smile. "No, thank you. I'm going to go home." She picked up a pen and scribbled her name and phone number on the notepad by the counter. Jagvir read it back to himself. "Will someone contact me today?" asked Rebecca. "Yes," said Jagvir, "but I think the person that can really help you is away in Scotland until Monday. If I can get you someone sooner than that, then of course. If we can get you someone sooner than that, then of course we will." Rebecca nodded. Monday was 2 full days away. "I'll wait at home." "Would you like someone to walk you back?" "I'll be okay." Jagvir shook his head. "Best not take any risks. I will call you a taxi." "I'm not a bloody charity. I don't need another taxi," Rebecca snapped. Jagvir grinned. "I just want to know that you get home safely. Is Mr. Sosey that dangerous?" Jagvir paused as though he did not know what to say. "I don't want to tell you an untruth, but yes, Miss Rebecca, if it is the man that we fear it is, he is very dangerous indeed." He pointed to a chair and indicated for her to sit, then picked up the phone. Rebecca sat down and covered her face with her hands. Saywood woke up. She kept her eyes closed for some moments whilst mentally orienting herself. She was lying on her stomach on something soft and had a pillow under her face. She also had pain in the side of her head and felt woozy. She opened her eyes, but it made little difference. Whatever space she was in had no natural light. As well as the side of her head being sore, she had an unpleasant sensation around her nose and mouth. She tried to move her hands and realised they were tied together with rope. Saywood groaned and attempted to roll over onto her back. As she did, she fell from what she assumed was a mattress and onto a hard floor. She had no idea what the time was, but judging by how she felt, it was probably not the day she'd been taken. Therefore, it must be Saturday. She was on her back, but could not move her hands. She tensed her stomach muscles and slowly tried to sit up, but did not have enough leverage. Leverage, I'm in England. She lay on the floor thinking for a few moments, then swung her legs up over her head. Then swung her legs up overhead so that her back arched, then leaned forward so that she was sat upright, cross-legged. She was still for a few moments, then uncrossed her legs and started rocking forwards until she got one knee on the floor, followed by the other. Taking a deep breath, she put her right leg forward so she could then use it to push herself up. She was on her feet. But what now? She could see very little, so she inched forwards, taking tiny steps. Eventually her knees hit something. She leaned forward slightly, but her head did not come into contact with anything, so whatever she had walked into was not full height. Saywood had no idea what to do next. She had hoped that her eyes would adjust to the darkness, but she could still see almost nothing. She turned slowly, looking all around her, trying to see a source of illumination. There seemed to be a short strip of light over to her right, which was level with the floor. It must be a door, although there was not a naked bulb on the other side, because she was sure that if there was, enough light would have seeped underneath to enable her to see her immediate surroundings. She shuffled about and used her feet to identify where the mattress was, then carefully lowered herself onto it. There was nothing she could do now, and she was very aware that her bladder was full and that she needed to visit a lavatory. She decided that she should cry for help. It was probably futile, but she could not think of anything else to do. She took a deep breath, then screamed at the top of her voice, "Help!" She heard a vague noise in the distance from above her and repeated the cry, "Help me!" Hang on, the printing. I'm going to have to get a new toner, I think. Is Max Sosey based on anyone? No, I haven't thought of an actor to be Max Sosey, actually. I could probably think about that. She could hear a noise upstairs, muffled footsteps walking across a wooden floor covered with a thin carpet. There was silence for about 20 seconds, then suddenly the dull strip of light under the door became exceedingly bright. Once her eyes had enough time to adjust, she'd be able to make out most of the details of the room she was in. No influences on his personality? Well, no, I don't think so. He's just an exceedingly unpleasant person. I used to work at Tesco. It could be anybody. Moments later, the door opened. Seywood closed her eyes and heard a switch being thrown. "Good afternoon, Miss Amapotho," said a smooth voice. She recognised it as Max Sosi. "I know what you are. About your links to the Sutherland Institute. There is a chance that you know who I am. That is why you are here." Seywood opened her eyes slightly. They'd adjusted somewhat to the new levels of light. She could see Sosi standing by the door. "We are alike. We have abilities that make us different. We are alike. We have abilities that make us different." And that's not really clear what I'm talking about there. That's a bit more clear. We are alike. We have abilities that make us different from most people. I'm guessing that this is all very new to you. I'm guessing though. Yeah, he's probably a composite of lots of store managers. We are alike. We have abilities to make us different from most people. I'm guessing, though, that this is all very new to you, which is lucky for me. "I was a wanted man, Miss Amapotho." "They said they killed you over a century ago," said Seywood. "You cannot be the same man." "Oh, I can." Sosi walked over to Seywood, pulled a chair from the corner of the room and sat down in front of her. "Once they discovered what I had been doing, they tried to kill me. They believed that they had. Like you, one of my many talents is the ability to pilot. We can make people do things and believe things using simply our minds. I found out what they were planning all those years ago, and I made them believe that they had succeeded. Since then, I've moved from place to place every couple of decades. They do not know that I still live." "How old are you?" "I was born in this country. It was a very long time ago when we were part of the Roman Empire." Seywood's eyes, now fully adjusted to the light, opened wide. "That's almost 2,000 years. You're that old?" "I am," replied Sosi. "I lived in Camulodunum, which was a Roman city. It's called Colchester now. I lived with my wife and 2 beautiful young daughters. It was a civilised existence. Then one day a coalition of British tribes who despised the Romans raided the city. They destroyed it. Trinovanti thugs raped and murdered my wife and daughters. They made me watch." "I'm sorry," said Seywood. Turn the page. "The orders came from their leader, Boudica. She ordered the men to do the things they did. She was directly responsible for the death of my family. Historians cannot agree." Now, I think I just need something in there. He paused and gave a nasty smile. And a nasty smile crossed his face. Lips formed on his face. He stopped and a nasty smile formed on his face. Let's do that again. "Their orders came from their leader, Boudica. She ordered the men to do the things they did. She was directly responsible for the death of my family. Historians cannot agree about what eventually became of her." He stopped and a nasty smile formed on his face. "Some say that she killed herself to avoid capture. Others that she simply got sick and died. Neither of them are correct." Seywood stayed quiet. She was not sure he was telling the truth. She was not sure that he was telling the truth, but she was certain that he believed it. "I enjoyed killing Boudica. I degraded her utterly and made her suffer immeasurably." He gave a slight smile. "And I never stopped. I found other women believe they were strong over the years, and I proved to them that they were not. Most of the time I chose them at random, but whenever I discovered a member of your institute, I dealt with them as well. He raised his hand, put it under her chin, and made her look straight into his eyes. You are not my intended victim. Once I've disposed of you, I will seek out your friend Rebecca. Your death is unfortunately necessary. Hers will be my pleasure. Seward wanted to meet his gaze without flinching, which she could not. What he was saying was too horrible. You're going to kill me? Yes, said Sosie. You have to understand it's nothing personal. He paused. Do you have anything to ask? As angry as she was, Seward was now in pain thanks to not being able to empty her bladder. I need a piss. I need a piss, she hissed. Now this is a bit that I really have changed based on your feedback, because he did some weird shit trying to pour water near her, and I got rid of that. Of course, said Sosie, bear with me. He left the room, closing the door behind him. She could hear him walking up the stairs. She expected to hear him return, but she did not. Seward closed her eyes and tried to think about something else, but the desire to urinate was so uncomfortable now, it was all she could think about. She closed her eyes and started to recite lyrics to songs that she knew, but did not help to distract her. Halfway through Uptown Funk, she realised that her legs and the mattress were soaking wet. You bastard! She yelled at the top of her voice. There was no response, not even floorboards creaking above her. So is that better? He just let her wet herself rather than deliberately trying to, yeah. Yes, that's better, I think. Right. So I'm just going to, that's the end of that chapter. So once again, I'm going to do all the Grammarly stuff now, because it gets it all signed off. And I think, have I still got Grammarly loaded up? Yes. So let's drag this chapter in. Ah. Oh, okay. So general, neutral, tell a story, done. Right, chapter 10. What score is it giving me to start with? Not that it really matters. 84 core. Yes, it was a bit. And it's actually better now just that he just walks off and goes, yeah, of course, yeah. And he just buggers off and lets her wet herself because he's horrible. And that's a lot less, it's a lot less OTT. No, so doesn't come home. She texted me and she only works 5 minutes up the road. So that's fine. I don't want to change that. It had naturally eroded. The hole in the stone did not seem to have been drilled through. It had naturally eroded and then been turned into a necklace. Yeah, I'll accept that correction. Noah leaned down. Yep, I'll go with that. And picture the teenager who had taken her own life. Yeah, that's fine. And then, yep, not changing forwards. Hello, who have I got? Kenny HY. I don't think I've met you before. Hello, nice to meet you. Inched forward. Yeah, I'll accept that actually. Let's have a look. Neither of them are correct. Some say that neither of them are correct. No, dismiss that. Right, so that was cool. Yeah, so I'm here. Hello, Kenny HY. So I'm here editing a book. This came in from... Oh, fantastic. Sorry, I haven't got the right screen up. So there's nothing to tell me that I've been raided. But let me see. Oh, I can see that I've got... Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm just... Was it previously a writing stream or... Because basically, I did actually, this is my second stream of the day because I've been, stuff's been going on and I really want to get this book that I'm writing now. Well, no, because normally when there's an incoming raid, it says so on here, but it didn't today. Normally it says so-and-so is raiding with a party of whatever. But that comes up in my chat, but it doesn't seem to have done today. Right, so let's just open that. All copy. Well, you're here, so I guess not. So hang on. Feel free to, sorry, let me just, what's that doing? Feel free to ask me questions. I've just basically signed off a chapter of my book. I want to try and get it signed off by this time next week, ideally. So I'm having to do 2 or 3 chapters a day. But then stuff got complicated today and I basically had a leak in the house. What genre do you write? So this... I think the closest you can call it would be magical realism, maybe. Magical realism or urban fantasy, maybe. It's all about an immortal artist who is a misogynist git and traps people, mainly women, in paintings as a form of torture or punishment. He's not very nice. And most of the other book I've been working on recently is called Empress of the Trees, and it's all about, well, trees talk to each other. Well, in my universe, they are very intelligent, talk to each other a lot, and they're not very happy with what us humans are doing to the planet, so they find a way of giving us an ultimatum: sort your shit out, humanity, otherwise we'll stop breathing for a couple of years, we'll survive and you won't. And it's all about basically how the world falls apart, because nobody can agree what to do, even though they've been told exactly what they've got to do and when. As I sort of said recently, it's a bit like what's actually happening now, but accelerated. Okay, so I'm going to crack on with the next chapter. Chapter 11, The Talents of Isabel Myerscough. Rebecca woke up early on Sunday morning, and the first thing she noticed was she was able to roll out of bed rather than to have to climb over Saywood. Yeah, what do you write? Please do tell. Sorry. She looked back at the divan as she stood next to the wardrobe door, climbing gently over Saywood so she did not wake her as part of her morning ritual. Saywood had even suggested at one point they swap sides, as it was invariably Rebecca that woke up and got up first. But Rebecca said no. She liked carefully climbing over Saywood, looking down on her and taking in her beautiful sleeping face as she did so. The police had finally visited yesterday afternoon, but when she told them their recent history, until the last few days of the women on the verge of splitting up, the police had decided it was likely that Saywood's disappearance was related to that. Noah and Leslie called a regular visitor during the day to check on her. They said that she could sleep at theirs again, but she declined, and they offered to stay with her at the flat, which she thanked them for, but said was not necessary. Rebecca had telephoned Graham to see if Saywood had turned up to work last night, but she had not. She'd called the police again, quoted her incident reference number, and let them know that Saywood had not gone to work. They thanked her, but did not seem concerned or even all that interested. Rebecca telephoned her parents the previous evening. Now, this is they had not been close for the last year, and Rebecca put it down to them not liking her relationship with Saywood. They'd nothing against Saywood herself, but she was the first girlfriend that Rebecca had ever had, and her mother had even used the phrase "it's just a phase" when she'd told them about her the Christmas before last. She understood why her mum might have said that. Rebecca had been a bit boy crazy when she'd been younger and had a couple of pregnancy scares, but she had initially been angry with her mum for assuming that Saywood was an aberration which she would grow out of. It had not been an easy few months, but she loved Saywood. How she felt about what was happening now, just proved it. Incidentally, that was already, you did put a thing in drop a couple of hints about Rebecca liking guys. You may not remember, but you did say that in your feedback. So that bit was already there, and I have added another reference earlier on. And I think 2 is enough. She had also called Larry yesterday. He had been absolutely lovely and had told her to take as much time off as she needed. What they're trying it's just the narrator, and he deals with voices and visions similar to my real life experiences. Since I have schizophrenia, so I would if not on meds do stuff like. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's not very nice for you, bless you. But that's interesting, because you always feel schizophrenia as a disease, particularly or as an illness, not a disease. It's treated quite badly by media and stuff. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of assumptions and misunderstanding about it, because I think a lot of people think it means there's 2 people in your head, and that's not really how it works, is it? I don't think. I think it's slightly more complex than that. But when people say, "Oh, he's schizophrenic," it's usually they say it about someone who, appears to have more than one personality, which, as I said, I think is an oversimplification and probably not very accurate. Happy for you to tell me more about it if you want to. Don't have to, but yeah, I would be interested. He'd said that he would get her shifts covered and to let him know if there's anything else he could do. She'd received a phone call yesterday afternoon as well. It had been from someone called Isabel Myerscough from the Sutherland Institute, who was flying down from Scotland and would come and see her as soon as she arrived to talk to her about what had happened to Saywood. Her plane was due to land about lunchtime on Monday, and she would drive straight to the flat from the airport, which should take less than an hour. Isabel believed that she would arrive at approximately 2:30, but would contact Rebecca again if she was going to be significantly earlier or later. Rebecca got a text message the next day from Isabel at just after 2 o'clock saying that she was running late but should be with her for 3. Sure enough, just before 3 o'clock there was a knock at the front door. Rebecca approached it with caution, but whoever it was pushed the letterbox open and called through it. "No need to worry, it's Elizabeth. It's Isabel. I can call you by phone to confirm it's me if you like." "That's okay," called Rebecca as she got to the door. She moved the chain and the 2 bolts, then unlocked the door and opened it. Isabel Myerscough stepped in. She was of average height, perhaps 5 feet and 6 inches, with neat, medium-length black hair, which was tied up in a complicated fashion. It was both drawn in at the sides and twisted into a loop at the top of her head. There was also a tidy bun at the back. I do have a photo. Oh, okay. So you can effectively, well, that can't be real, therefore it's not real. Okay, interesting. She was in her mid to late 20s, had dark brown eyes and an uncompromising expression. Isabel was wearing very bright red lipstick with subtly rouged cheeks, immaculate eyebrows that were slightly thicker towards the nose, and dark blue-green coloured eye makeup. She was wearing... Is there a proper word for eye makeup? Oh, that's cool. That's good. She was wearing a full-length, lightly coloured dress with a gentle red floral pattern on it and a dark brown sheepskin aviator jacket with an off-centre zip, which was undone, and a furry upturned collar. She carried a 50s-style tan vintage leather handbag with a gold clasp, and it was very much that of a person from an earlier decade. Eyeshadow. That's a better way of putting it. Thank you. Thank you, Bow Street Society. So eyeshadow is this bit, isn't it? The bit that actually goes on the eyelid. And what's mascara then? I know nothing. I could Google it rather than demanding you to tell me. Hang on. I don't know about these things. I'm a man. I've never had to wear it. Mascara is the stuff on the eyelashes. Okay, perfect. Yep. "Are you all right?" Isabel asked. Her voice was not warm. The question had been asked as a pleasantry. "I'm worried but coping," replied Rebecca. "Good," said Isabel. "I don't want to be dealing with any hysterics. Please show me in." Rebecca led Isabel through to the small living room. Isabel sat in the single chair perpendicular to the sofa and placed a handbag on the floor next to the chair. She pointed to the sofa, and Rebecca sat down. "I want to try and help you to locate Saywood. I met her briefly last week. I understand that before she disappeared, the pair of you were having a problem with a man called Maximilian Sosi. Is this correct?" "It was more me than Saywood," confessed Rebecca. "She came into the pub where I worked." "The Viscount?" confirmed Isabel. "Yes," said Rebecca. "He said he wanted to paint me. I told him to get lost." "When was this?" "Not the Thursday just gone, but the one before." I wasn't a new romantic back in the 80s, no. I liked the music, I was too young to dress up. Give it another few years and I probably would have done, to be fair. "Yes," said Rebecca. "He said he wanted to paint me. I told him to get lost." "When was this?" "Not the Thursday just gone, but the one before," said Rebecca. "My next shift was 2 days later on the Saturday. He came in again and sketched me to prove he was serious. I was a bit creeped out, so I let Larry, my boss, look after him from that point onwards. He hung about outside when we closed, so I called Saywood and she came to the pub to walk me home. He passed Max outside and sensed that he wanted to hurt me." "Saywood has pilot potential," said Isabel. "She can read strong emotions and thoughts and she can cause people to experience them. She also has the potential to be able to influence their actions. If that is what she decides to do, although I'm told all she wants to learn is how to stop unwanted thoughts from entering her head." "It was hard for us," said Rebecca. "She saw the thoughts of some poor girl last weekend, someone who was depressed and suicidal, but also had the potential for some kind of talent like yours or hers. She took the girl to this and tat, hoping they could help her develop it, and some nasty cow there removed the ability." "I was aware of this," said Isabel with a slight smile. She leaned forward conspiratorially and whispered to Rebecca, "I was that cow." Rebecca went red, but Isabel smiled. "I don't expect you to understand why I did it. We can only allow people with zero potential for misuse to grow these abilities. I am aware of what happened later that day, and I felt for the girl, but know 2 things, Rebecca. Firstly, what I had to do did not in any way influence what she chose to do later. Secondly, it was very likely that her misery would have at some point caused her to lash out and potentially do unspeakable things. That must never be allowed to happen. We once allowed the wrong person to retain his powers, and many people died as a result. Many members of the Institute and innocent people who had nothing to do with us. We destroyed that man, or at least we thought we had. Rebecca nodded. Saywood told me. The man you thought you had killed was Max Sosi. Yes, we are the only people that can deal with him, and he knows that. Over the years since his so-called execution, a handful of number have disappeared. In some cases, it probably had nothing to do with him, but in retrospect, we believe that if Saywood is right and this man is our Max Sosi, some of our people have met him over the years and been killed by him. Not to mention the girls with potential that he may have run into that we did not know about. He is a very old and powerful man, Rebecca, and over the tens of centuries that he's been alive, we think he has hurt many people. And now he has Saywood. It looks that way. And he will kill her. Actually, that shouldn't be a question. So it's a statement. And he will kill her. Rebecca had tears in her eyes. He will eventually, said Isabel after a pause. He has a pathological hatred of women, and he had a pathological hatred of women, and almost certainly still has. He will probably not kill her straight away. I'm going to lose the probably there. He will not kill her straight away. He may, however, hurt her in the meantime. She grabbed Rebecca by the hand. I will not allow him to kill her. We think Saywood will grow to have very powerful abilities. We need her. May I ask what you can do? Plenty, said Isabel. I am also a pilot. Place your hands on your head. No, said Rebecca, as she placed her hands on her head. She glanced up at her arms. What? Just proving my point, said Isabel. I won't do it again. I can also burn out the abilities of individuals that I think will abuse them. But the reason I was sent to you today is that I have the ability to locate people. And you're going to try and locate Saywood? Yes, but the first thing I need you to do is show me Max Sosi's face. I must know if it's the same man. But if it isn't, you'll still help me find her. Of course, smiled Isabel. She paused. Show me Sosi. What do you mean? Think of him, said Isabel. I will see what you think. Rebecca flinched and thought about Sosi as he approached her at the bar, and then the moment where he showed her his sketch. Isabel nodded and gave a grim smile. That certainly looks like him. Not that I had any doubt. Right, we need to find Saywood. The easiest way is with her Pilato, but I guess she has it with her. Is that her stone necklace? The stone necklace, not her. Was that the stone necklace? Is that the stone necklace? Asked Rebecca. Isabel nodded. She dropped it before she disappeared. We found it. Isabel smiled. There is a tiny chance that it is not hers. Bring me something she owns as well as the Pilato. I can verify that they belong to the same person. What like? Clothes? An item of jewellery that she regularly wears would be best. A watch? Perfect, said Isabel. Rebecca went through into the bedroom and pulled out the Pilato and Saywood's favourite watch. She never wore it to work because of the possibility it might get damaged. Rebecca took the two items back through to the lounge for Isabel, handing them to her before she sat down. Isabel held one item in each hand and closed her eyes briefly. Thank you, she said. I can confirm that the Pilato was Saywood's. How do we find her? We don't. I do. Rebecca snatched the Pilato from Isabel's hands. Oh, no. Oh, no. You see, I put two no's, but it sounds better with a third. So I'm just going to change that. Oh, no. I'm coming with you. Oh, no. I'm coming with you. Oh, what? You won't give me the Pilato back? I won't be able to find her without it. Rebecca's eyes misted up. Please, I want to help. Isabel nodded. OK, all I intend to do today is verify her location anyway. What do we have to do? We get onto my car, said Isabel. I have a map there. There is a strong link between Saywood and her Pilato. Indeed, between most people and the belongings they regularly use. She's not had it very long, so it's not as strong as it could be, but it should be enough. By holding it, I will know which direction Saywood is away from us, although the further away she is, the less accurate it is. I will get a direction from near the car, put it on the map, and then I will drive to another location and do the same. If I do that from several locations, the more accurate my fix on her will be. What if she's far away, like in another country? Oh, it will still work, said Isabel. It will just take me longer to identify the location. But in the past, Sosi's never killed far from his home. We anticipate that she'll be held relatively locally. I'm going to lose the relatively there. We anticipate she will be held. We anticipate she will be held locally. Jagvir is making a list of the old and expensive houses in this county and who owns them. And will we go and get and then will we go and get her? Isabel shook her head. When we have an idea where she is, we will then decide what exactly we are going to do to retrieve her. Come on, let's go down to the car. Rebecca was not at all surprised by the fact that, when they arrived at the car park, Isabel had a somewhat quirky car. It was an immaculate old Citroën 2CV. The main part of the car was a deep maroon colour, but the forward wheel arches, bottoms of the doors and everything behind them were black. It was polished and in stunning condition. The headlights were clean and bright, and the chrome forward bumper was so well polished it was gleaming. Rebecca watched as Isabel walked over to the passenger door and unlocked it. No central locking, she explained, as she walked around the front to the driver's door and let herself in, sitting in the driving seat without closing the door. Rebecca was doing up her seatbelt. No need for that for a moment, snapped Isabel. I have something to do first. She pulled an ordnance survey map out. She pulled an ordnance survey map of the area and a compass from her glove box. I'm getting out again. Prolato. What? Sorry? I need the Prolato. Rebecca fished it out of her coat pocket and handed it over to Isabel, who almost snatched it from her before jumping back out of the car. There's a bag with a clipboard and a pencil case behind my seat, she called. Bring it. Rebecca hurriedly undid the seatbelt, felt around behind the seat, found and grabbed the bag, glanced into it to check it had what Isabel needed inside, and got out of the car. Isabel was standing at the front impatiently. Find our location on the map and fold it so that it is in the centre of the clipboard. Find our location on the map and fold it so it is the size of the clipboard, with where we are now in the centre, commanded Isabel. She was holding the necklace by the cord in one hand and the compass in the other. She closed her eyes and muttered something inaudible under her breath before turning slowly on the spot. She rotated in a full circle and then back the other way. Rebecca watched in silent fascination. Eventually Isabel stopped and opened her eyes, glancing down at the compass. She was facing in the general direction of the flats. 107, she said. Write it down. Rebecca had not managed to find where they were on the map. She was used to maps on a phone and not the paper variety. Now, in her haste, she dropped it. Then she scrabbled through the bag trying to find a pen or a pencil. Meanwhile, Isabel repeated the exercise of turning around a few times with her eyes closed and ended up pointing in the same general direction. 110, she called out again. She looked around and saw the map on the floor and Rebecca trying to open the pencil case she'd pulled out of the bag. She rolled her eyes as Rebecca pulled out a pencil, picked up the map and wrote the numbers on the front. 170 and 110, said Rebecca. Isabel had started turning on the spot again with her eyes closed when she stopped, snapped them open again. No, 107 and 110. Call them back to me. 107 and 110, said Rebecca. Thank you, said Isabel with a frown, and she closed her eyes again and repeated whatever it was she was doing. 108, she called again. She looked back over to Rebecca. What's the average? 108 and a bit, said Rebecca immediately. Very good, said Isabel. She sounded like she could have been being deliberately patronising, but she had a smile on the face, and Rebecca sensed that had not been her intention. Right, let's sort out this map. She stepped forward from the spot and folded the map out. Her eyes flicked over it, and she took the pencil from Rebecca, looked around her, and marked an X on the spot they were standing on. Can you pass me a protractor and a ruler? Rebecca rummaged through the pencil case and found both items. They were made from wood rather than plastic and looked ancient. She handed them to Isabel, who lined up the protractor so that the centre point was over the X she had masked, and the straight edge ran parallel to the squares on the map. She drew two marks at the edges of the protractor, 101 and 115. She looked up at Rebecca. That's 7 degrees either way. Isabel used the ruler to draw two lines, each starting from the point on the map where they were standing and going through each of the two marks she'd drawn. Now, in theory, she's somewhere in that cone I have marked on here, said Isabel. Rebecca looked at the map. Close to the place they were standing, there were very few places so it could be, but as the lines diverged as they got further away, and there was a much larger area to cover. So she could be anywhere. In the cone, reiterated Isabel. So we go somewhere else and do the same thing. I see, said Rebecca in excitement. Draw another cone on the map from there, and where the cones overlap. Yes, said Isabel. She's in that area. We can then get closer and keep doing it until we have narrowed it down considerably. That's amazing, cried Rebecca. Does it always work? As long as Saywood isn't moving, yes, said Isabel. Now you can get into the car and do up your seatbelt. Grinning from ear to ear, Rebecca did as she was told. Isabel headed south in the car for about 15 minutes until they'd left the main part of the city. Rebecca followed their progress on the map a little confused. They drove through Wigston Harcourt, and as the number of houses reduced to almost nothing, Isabel drove beneath a railway bridge and looked out for somewhere to park. On the left was an entrance to a field with enough room for her to stop, so she pulled over. Rebecca had been following their progress on the actual map on the clipboard and on her phone. Rebecca had been following their progress both on the actual map on the clipboard and on her phone. "Do you know where we are?" asked Isabel. Rebecca nodded and pointed to a road on the map. "Then you know what to do." Rebecca pulled out pencil and marked the spot. "There's just one thing I don't understand," said Rebecca. "We aren't in the cone already marked on the map." "Well, of course not." "Oh, all right, take care." "Yes, I'm going to get one more chapter after this signed off, and then I may do the recording tonight, or I may do it, and it's 10 o'clock we're meeting tomorrow, isn't it? I assume you'll send me a Zoom link and stuff, or you may already have done, I just haven't seen my emails yet. In fact, I think you might have. Oh, no, you have, haven't you? You have. Cool. Wonderful. All right. So, there's just one thing I don't understand, said Rebecca. We aren't in the cone already on the map, marked on the map. "Well, of course not," snorted Isabel. "Think about it." She frowned for a moment. "I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name." "Rebecca." "Think about it, Rebecca. If we start at a point inside the cone I've already drawn, all we will have is a cone within the cone. There will be no overlap. It won't tell us anything new, won't narrow anything down." Rebecca nodded. "I see," she lied. "Ready to note down the numbers?" "I am." Rebecca did not get out of the car this time. She just ran down the window so that she could hear Isabel speak. "See you later." Isabel did the same thing she'd done in the housing estate car park. She had Saywood's Pilato in one hand and a compass in the other, and she turned on the spot with her eyes closed, uttering some kind of incantation. She called out the numbers, and Rebecca noted them down, and once Isabel had called out 3 numbers, she worked out the average. Isabel climbed back into the car, and when she was done and used the information Rebecca... Isabel climbed back into the car, and when she was done and used the information Rebecca had given her to draw another cone on the map. They intersected in a reasonably sized area between the villages of Burton Overy and Ilston. "So what now?" asked Rebecca. "Now we go over to Great Glen and do it again," said Isabel. "We should be there in 10 minutes. It was now gone 4 o'clock, and thanks to the thickness of the grey clouds overhead, it already felt like it was getting dark outside, and Isabel said that what she was doing was easier, not to mention... Just going to reword that slightly. It's It was now gone 4 o'clock, and thanks to the thickness of the grey clouds overhead, it already felt like it was getting dark outside. Let's lose the already, because I've got already in the next sentence as well. Isabel had already said that what she was doing was easier, not to mention safer, in daylight. They took a reading just outside the village of Great Glen, which narrowed down the area further. Saywood had to be somewhere. Let's just make that a separate sentence. Saywood had to be somewhere where the 3 cones crossed, which was approximately north of them. Isabel drove them to another point to the east of that intersection, and they repeated the exercise, then again slightly further to north. The area that Saywood could be in was now quite small. Isabel looked at the map and pondered. "So what now?" Let's lose the so. Put a lot of so's in. "What now?" asked Rebecca. "We need to get much closer," said Isabel. "Look at the map. According to this, there are only 5 or 6 buildings she could be in, assuming that it is accurate and that she is in one of them." She ran her finger along the map. "There is a public bridleway there, just to the north of the area where she must be. If we get a direction fixed from there, it should be pretty certain which building she is in." "Well, let's do that then," exclaimed Rebecca. "The problem is this. Isabel indicated one of the buildings, which is very close to the footpath. The whole area that she could be in is less than 800 metres from northeast to southwest and less than 200 metres the other way. If she is in this property, anyone in the house may be able to see us. However, I would guess that with what I expect suspect. Let's just change the way that's said. I think it is safe to assume that oh yes, it's sort of a bit warmer where I am. Let's have a look at the... Hey Siri, what's the weather in Chicago?
It's currently cloudy and 2 degrees in Chicago.
Yeah, it's warmer.
United States.
It's warmer than that.
Expect partly cloudy skies starting tonight.
Yeah.
Today's high will be 6 and the low will be -1 degree.
Yep, I think that's... Hey Siri, what's the weather in Daventry, UK?
It's currently cloudy and 4 degrees. Today's high will be 7 and the low will be -1 degree.
Oh, we're basically the same then. Not much in it at all. Oh, now I'm throwing things around. Oh, I didn't want to be doing that. Oh. Yeah, with the tail end of a storm brings snow. Oh, nice. Oh, really? God, there was one time where we had Siberian dust or something. No. We had Saharan dust blow at us because of the weather. It's very interesting. This was a few years back. So yeah, everybody came out and their cars were covered in like sandy stuff. Why isn't that coming out? Oh, that's better. So I need to plug my iPad in because it operates as my media controller, but the battery's running out. Let me just put that there. Right. Yes. Oh, okay. Well, not so good for my car though. Right. Okay, that makes sense. The problem is this, Isabel indicated one of the buildings, which is very close to the footpath. The whole area that she could be in is less than 800 metres from northeast to southwest and less than 200 metres the other way. If she's in this property, anyone in the house may be able to see us. I think it's safe to assume, however, that with what I suspect Sosie has planned, he is in the house by himself. Let's change that to by himself. I'm really determined. So this is my second session today. And I'm really determined. I want to get this draft. So I go back to work on Monday the 24th. So a week tomorrow. So if I can get up to chapter 12 signed off today, that leaves me with exactly 21 left, which gives me an average of 3 I need to do a day, which is absolutely doable. So I've been listening to more Bob Buxbaugh Richmond, and I'm pretty sure my writings so far are a bit thin. Yeah, but it's a different... I mean, I'm not aware of... I shall Google her. Hang on. But are you trying to achieve the same things as her? Oh, definitely. Well, I've never been... I have to say, I don't like writing in... Oh, Rachel Lippincott. Okay. No, I don't want her website. I just want... American novelist. Oh wow, she's only 31. Okay, have I heard of any of her books? Let's have a quick look. at her bibliography. Pride and Prejudice and Pittsburgh. I'll just quickly take a photo, and I might look at one of hers later on. I might not. Yeah, right. Where was I? Then we should be safe. Isabel shook her head. He may have. I'm going to say learned. I'm going to say developed. Yeah, I'll actually, a good way of checking is if I have a look on the website of an English bookseller called Waterstones, which is our equivalent of Barnes and Noble, and see if they've got anything, see if she's been published over here. I would imagine she probably has. Oh, she's not been published in the UK. Let me just double check I haven't spelt it wrongly. Yes, I had. I didn't put double T in. No, I don't think she's been published in the UK. Oh, but she spells Rachel in a strange way as well. So if I type it in right, I'm not in a oh no, there we go. I wasn't spelling Rachel correctly. She has been published in this country. Basically the same ones as on that list. Make My Wish Come True, She Gets the Girl, 5 Feet Apart, Pride and Prejudice. Well, now that's interesting. So in America, Pride and Prejudice and Pittsburgh, in this country, it's called Pride and Prejudice in the City. So they changed the title for the British market. The rest, by the look of it, are the same titles. Oh, and She Gets the Girl hasn't been published in this country yet. It's being published later in the year, and it's called She Gets the Girl at ... Weird that, isn't it? I suppose that's a Philosopher's Stone, Sorcerer's Stone sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, Pride and Prejudice in the City. That's interesting that they chose not to. Yeah. So I can show you. Hang on. So yeah, there's the British cover of the book, and it's called Pride and Prejudice in the City. Hope you can see that. There we go. Anyway, that didn't help. Right, let's go back to where I was. Oh, okay. There's not any links on. What's it called? Pride and Prejudice in the City. Let me just Google that. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Pride and Prejudice in the City. Let's see if I've got a synopsis. 17-year-old woman has lost a spark. After embarrassing her with her ex-boyfriend, she's told that she needs to go back out and take some risks. Well, she doesn't be expected to be transported to Regency, England. Okay, so not the modern day, in the past. Interesting. Oh, hello, you're still with us, still with us, Kenny. Excellent. Right, I'm going to try and crack on with this. Isabel shook her head. He may have developed abilities over the centuries that we know nothing about. Also, he could have dogs. I'm not sure that I want to take the risk. But you said he was going to kill her, said Rebecca. Her eyes started watering. Isabel shook her head. I said he was going to kill her eventually. He wanted to hurt her first if his previous modus operandi is anything to go by. We still have a couple of days. Days in which he could be hurting her, shrieked Rebecca. Agreed, but not killing her. Rebecca, which would you rather do? Risk our lives now or do this safely tomorrow? But he might hurt her more by then. We have to do something. Isabel shook her head and, pondering for a few moments, pored over the map. Hang on, let's just got a typo in there. Pondering for a few moments, poring over the map. Oh, interesting. Okay. If that actually works, I might read that, because that sounds like a way forward. Dear. Isabel shook her head and pondered for a few moments, poring over the map. There is a road here, she said. It intersects the bridleway here. We could park there and go and have a look, but the light is fading, so if I say I think it's unsafe, then that is final. We can reconvene tomorrow if that is the case. Agreed? But tomorrow will be Tuesday. She was taken on Friday evening. Agreed? Rebecca blinked a few times. OK, agreed. Isabel opened the handbag and took out a mobile phone. It was the first modern thing that Rebecca had seen her touch, and she was surprised to see that she operated as competently as the maps and pencils she'd already used. She took a red pen from the pencil case and marked out the boundary of the area she was interested in and took two photographs. One close-up and with the red bordered area filling the screen, and a shot from further away showing the nearby villages. Also, these stories all do have dual protags and handoff chapters. Okay. Yeah, I mean, relationship... Well, actually, there are some relationshipy bits in my Empress of the Trees, but it wasn't the main reason I wrote it. I shall send these to Jagvir now. He will try and find out what he can about the properties in the search area. She played with the phone for a few seconds. There, it's done. It may be that by the time we get there, he can rule some of the properties out. I would be much happier, for example, if she's not in the big one in the middle of the bridleway. Rebecca dried her eyes. She had allowed her hopes to build that she would see Saywood at some point today, but what Isabel was saying make sense. If Sosie had dogs and he was at the house by the path, then all of their lives could be in danger. She hated to admit that Isabel was right, especially when she explained things in a cold... and logical way that appeared to be devoid of emotion. Rebecca climbed back into the passenger seat of the quirky old car, sighed, and pulled the seatbelt on. I feel that should be a separate paragraph there. Right, so export to Word. Whack it into Grammarly, which I think is there. Right, let's see how much Grammarly loves me today. Ooh, 84. Okay. Seventeen suggested that at one point they swapped sides, as it was invariably Rebecca that woke up and got up first. Who woke up and... Yep, I'll accept that change. Accept that change. Remove that comma as well. But the reason that I was sent you today is that I can locate people. I haven't, but no, I think what I said is more important. The ability to locate people makes more sense, yes. Nope. No, hey, she dropped it and then she scrabbled through the bag. Yeah, that's fine. So that's correct. She sounded like she could have been deliberately patronising. Yeah, she could have been being... Yeah, we'll accept that. On the left was an entrance to a field with enough room for her to stop, so she pulled over. Rebecca was following their progress both on the actual map and on the clipboard and on her phone. Yeah, I like the way I've worded that, not the way Grammarly wants me to. It was now after 4 o'clock, I shall say. If she is in this property, not on this property. Oh, I see. I'm going to say building. Right, so file, download. What time is it? Okay, this couldn't perform this function. Clear cache and try again. What? Why isn't it doing it? Clear cache. Oh, this is unnecessarily complicated. I'm on Safari. So I'm just going to go onto a different screen for a second. Open Safari, choose Safari, settings, privacy, select manage website data. Yep. Click remove all. Okay. Hopefully that will work now. Download. We couldn't perform this action, clear cache and try again. Piss off, you have literally just done, I've literally just done that. No, please work. I want to finish this off tonight, and it has literally never done this to me before. Right. Okay, let's try that one more time. No, I really don't want to, because this loses all my might have to stop if I can't make this work. Why is it doing that? Okay, let's try shutting it down. I can make those changes again because there was only a couple, but let's that's frustrating. I just want to get this done tonight. Let me just go back to, oh no, you're not on that view, that's fine. Let me just try and make this bloody thing work. Because I really want it to, because I just want to get one more chapter done tonight. Right, now it says open in browser. Okay. Now I need to log in. That could be fun. Oh, it's not letting me in now. I'm not in the mood for this shit tonight. I'm really not. Okay, it's let me in. Drop and drag a text file here. Let's see if you're going to work. Right. Hello, Fanfictioneer guy. It's been a while. I have spoken to you before, but it's been a long time. Right. Please, will you work? Now, the only way I can find out whether it's going to work is by trying to download the file. If it won't download it, oh, great, it did. Okay, right. Okay, so I can now make those corrections. So remember accepting these. I have an ability. I can locate is that I have an ability to locate people. Well, that's fine. I have the ability, that's right. Dismiss. Dismiss. And then, I've already just done this. That's correct because it's coordinates. Yeah, it has. Have you found a use where it uses the opposite English formatting to what you're used to with Grammarly? No, the main thing I'm finding at the moment is that I have to bloody well go in and tell it every single time that I'm using English, not American English, and I can't be bothered to do that. I'll change that to after. Right. No, as I say, it's just really annoying. So one of the settings that used to come up at the beginning used to be which English are you using, but it won't let me do that anymore, and it's really annoying. Well, it never used to do that. That's what's so frustrating. And I know the difference. So nearly all the spelling things it comes up with as spelling errors are just differences in the way. So it tries to add a lot of U's into words. It tries to change S's to Z's, things like that. Things that are just normal differences between our languages, basically. Or not even our languages, but just the way we spell it. Oh, damn it. Right. Okay, let's just paste that back into the original document. Yay, so that is chapter 11 signed off. So let me just drag it to the right place in here. And as I say, if I can just do chapter 12 tonight as well, then I have hit the target that I wanted to hit. Okay, well, hang on. I'm not going to switch in the middle of this session, but I will have a look at language tool. Let me just... Free grammar checker. I'll trial it. I'm not going to do it today, but hang on, otherwise I'll forget. Just taking a photograph. I'm not going to trial it today, but yes, I will have a look. Okay, cool. Well, I will, as I say, I will have a look, because yeah, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about it being a sort of into my writing software. I would rather just use it as a sort of to check afterwards. Right, chapter 12, The Undertaking. This is quite a short chapter, and it's all I'm going to do tonight. It will do me. So chapter 12, The Undertaking. Sir Teddy had just arrived at his home early on Monday evening when the call from Nathan Walsh came through to his private mobile phone. Walsh wanted to talk to him. He had some information that he felt Sir Teddy would want to know immediately, which he was quite happy to disclose over the telephone. Sir Teddy disagreed. "I never discuss anything on the telephone that I would not want someone else to find out," he said. His butler, Harris, was waiting at the side of the hall with his hands folded next to the grand staircase. There was a lift to the left of him, elevator for everyone watching. There was a lift to the left of him at the foot of the stairs. "I would very much appreciate it if you could come and brief me as soon as possible, Mr. Walsh." There was a pause as Sir Teddy listened to his response. "Yes, at home. Perfect. Thank you." Sir Teddy slipped his phone into the top pocket of his suit and then removed his tie. "Mr. Harris, I need to have a private meeting with an employee of mine. Please inform the others that they may have the night off. Ask Marion to make sure that the larder on the first floor is stocked. I will help myself to anything I need." "Certainly, sir," replied Harris. "Where would you like me to be when your visitor arrives?" "Let him in, then you may go home, Mr. Harris. I will see you tomorrow." "What if you need anything tonight, sir?" "Please ensure everything I might need is in the first floor drawing room. In the unlikely event of an emergency, I will call you." "How well do you know your guest, sir?" "You helped me find him, Mr. Harris. I'm being visited by Nathan Walsh, who was on the short list of private investigators that you researched on my behalf." "That makes me feel a little better, sir," said Harris. Sir Teddy nodded. Harris was overprotective and fussy, but it came from good intentions. "When he arrives, show him to my reception room upstairs, then make sure that everyone has left. When you lock the door behind you, text me to confirm that you have done so." "Certainly, sir." Sir Teddy wheeled his chair across to the lift and pressed the button. The door opened and he rolled in. He was currently engaged in an ongoing discussion with Harris, who felt that Sir Teddy ought to get an electronic wheelchair, but Sir Teddy always refused. He enjoyed the fact that he operated under his own steam and did not have to worry about batteries. Sir Teddy hit the button for the first floor and the doors closed behind him. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I will definitely audition it at some point over the next couple of days. See if I like it. Thank you very much. Well, so I've photographed the page, so I will remember to look at it at some point in the next couple of days. So Teddy hit the button for the first floor and the doors closed behind him. He repositioned the chair so that he was facing the door, and as soon as it opened, he rolled out, turned to the right and towards the reception room where he was due to meet Nathan Walsh. He pushed the door open and headed straight for the low-level table upon which stood a cut glass decanter containing a single malt whisky and several glasses. He removed the top of the decanter and poured himself a generous glass. Half an hour later he was still seated in the same position when there was a knock at the door. Harris entered. "Mr. Walsh has arrived, sir," he said. "Show him straight in," replied Sir Teddy. Harris stepped to one side and Nathan Walsh entered the room. He was wearing a dark suit in a similar style to one he'd been wearing when Sir Teddy had met him at the Ainsley Associates office. "Thank you for doing me the courtesy of coming to speak to me in person, Mr. Walsh," said Sir Teddy. "I am sure that you are a busy man. Mr. Harris will see to your needs, after which he and the staff will be leaving. Then we can talk." "I grabbed a coffee on the way," said Walsh, "so I'm okay. And please feel free to call me Nathan, Sir Teddy." "You did ask me that last time," said Sir Teddy with a nod. "If Mr. Walsh and yourself have no further requests, I will retire for the evening," said Harris. "Thank you," said Sir Teddy. Harris left, closing the door behind him. "I do have staff quarters, but they are separate to this building," explained Sir Teddy. "Harris will let me know when he's locked the door behind him. Then we can talk." Walsh glanced around the room. The walls were lined with bookshelves full of ancient volumes, apart from one which contained more modern books. Harris recognised several Booker winners amongst the collection, and a full set of Harry Potter books, which made him smile somewhat under the circumstances, and some Robert Harris. "Beautiful place you have here, Sir Teddy," he remarked. "None of it was my hard work, I can assure you," said Sir Teddy with a smile. "I practically inherited everything you see here." "Not the knighthood," said Walsh. "My family have taken from society for generations," replied Sir Teddy. "They were not a very nice bunch. I see it as my duty to redress that balance. Bye." Sorry, that sounded sarcastic. I didn't mean like that. Thank you for popping in, and see you later, hopefully. His mobile phone pinged. Sir Teddy checked the screen, then smiled. "We are free to talk. What have you discovered?" Walsh had a document case with him, which he opened. "I'm a fast worker, Sir Teddy. The first thing I did was find out where Sosie was living. The address you gave me in Leicestershire turned out to be where he is staying now. I paid someone to put software on his computer, and I found some of the aliases he uses. I was then able to locate additional properties that he owns." He passed a dossier across to Sir Teddy, who flicked through it with interest. "I have a theory for you, Sir Teddy. It's pretty wild, but I have circumstantial evidence to back it up." Walsh opened the document case and pulled out another dossier. "These are photographs of some of the artworks I found when I visited some of his properties. There are loads. I've not printed them all off, but there is a disc at the bottom of the folder that has a file containing every single image that I have taken. Some of them are very old. Sosie has paintings in his collection that date back hundreds of years, and there are line drawings that are older than that." Sir Teddy opened up the dossier. The first picture was a painting of a woman in a British Second World War Air Transport Auxiliary uniform standing in front of a Lancaster bomber. He shook his head. "This is very good." "The next picture is a close-up of the brushwork," said Walsh. "That one is not especially old. It was a contemporary image when painted. I've had a specialist study the pictures. He says that he cannot be sure without seeing the actual canvas, but he thinks that all of these are drawn by a very practised hand. The style has naturally evolved over the centuries, but my expert believes the same person painted all of the pictures." Italicise the all. "So what are you telling me, Nathan?" asked Sir Teddy, slowly and deliberately, whilst pouring himself another whisky from the decanter. "My theory is that Max Sosie, or whatever he is called, is a very, very old man. If I were to use the word ancient, or perhaps even immortal, I think that would be no exaggeration." "But that would be ridiculous," said Sir Teddy, taking a sip from his whisky. "Wouldn't it, Nathan?" Walsh looked at him through narrowed eyes. "You don't think I'm crazy?" Sir Teddy shook his head. "He'd put me in a wheelchair in 1962 when I was 15 years old. I met him for the first time since then, last year. As I said, he did not recognise me, but I knew it was the same man. He looked the same. He sounded the same." Sir Teddy shook his head for a moment. "He had not aged a day." "Where did you find the pictures?" "Elvington Manor, where a handful were on display," said Walsh, "but most of them were stored upstairs out of sight. We have a located. Hang on, that's a typo. We have located a further 8 properties all over the country, from the northernmost reaches of the Highlands of Scotland. Let's just say from the Highlands. I'm losing the northernmost reaches from the Highlands of Scotland to Cornwall. Would you like me to continue to obtain photographs? I may have to employ some additional people. I said to you before that money was no object," said Sir Teddy. "I'll get resources onto it as soon as possible, and I will hand deliver the images of these pictures to you here," said Walsh. Sir Teddy smiled. "Perfect." Walsh looked at the whisky decanter. "I really think I was crazy when I told you how old I think Sosie is," he said. "I've one more thing I wish to tell you. It will sound almost as ridiculous. Have you heard of the Institute?" "The Institute of what?" "The Sutherland Institute," said Walsh. "It is a group of people that have very specific abilities. If I was to be fanciful, I might describe them as magical abilities." Sir Teddy raised his eyebrows and poured himself another glass of whisky, then poured more from the decanter into an empty glass. "You've looked at this several times, Nathan." He pushed the glass over to the investigator, who took a small sip. "Very nice," said Walsh, rolling the fiery liquid across his tongue before swallowing it. "I have known of the existence of the Institute for a few years now. They're very secretive, but they are now aware that I know about them." "And what do they do?" "They front as a charity, and in reality they recruit, train and protect their own, people with abilities. Sir Teddy looked uncomfortable. Do you think Maximilian Sosi might be one of their number? Walsh took another sip from the whisky glass and set it down. He used to be, a very long time ago. The Institute are also there to ensure that people with these abilities do not misuse them. They have a particularly impressive and scary young woman who works for them called Isabel Myerscough. I love Isabel. She can burn an ability from someone the Institute consider may have the potential to misuse it. I think the Max Sosi somehow slipped through that safety net, assuming it was even in place when he joined them. Perhaps he was able to hide his intentions. Perhaps there was corruption within the organisation when he joined. Either way, they failed to recognise what he was capable of, and it is now believed that he has committed an unfathomable number of murders over the years. Some were members of the Institute, others were unlucky girls that he took a shine to. Sir Teddy swallowed the rest of his whisky in one gulp, a sad expression on his face. Pray continue, he said. Eventually they worked out who he was and what he was doing. They intended to execute him. Somehow he got away and managed to shake their pursuit. Perhaps he went on board where there were fewer Institute observers, or hid in plain sight. Either way, he managed to lose them and has been living incognito ever since. It seems as though he still enjoys killing. However, recently he appears to have made a mistake. What kind of mistake? Sir Teddy leaned towards him. I followed him for a few days. He ended up going into a public house in Leicester and started talking to one of the bar staff. He offered to paint her. Sir Teddy's eyes opened wide. Do go on. The girl, Rebecca, was perturbed by it. Once the pub was closed, Sosi waited outside, presumably for her. Rebecca called a friend to walk her home. The friend was a girl called Sayward Amapofo. I've spoken to them both. Sayward came to collect Rebecca from the pub, and as she walked past Sosi, their minds touched. She could see what Sosi wanted to do to Rebecca, and it was not pleasant. Was he going to hurt her? Sayward thinks he was going to paint Rebecca, then hurt her. I'm afraid that she could see what I was thinking too. She knows that you want to see pictures that Sosi has painted. She believes that he paints his victims before he sexually assaults, then murders them. Sayward stared at his glass and shook his head. Walsh was surprised to see that his eyes were moist, but he drew a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped them. I think the young lady is almost right. We're almost there. There is one more thing. Sayward went missing a couple of days ago. From what I've been able to find out, she's only recently discovered that she has an ability. The Institute has made initial contact with her, assessed her to ensure they thought she was safe, an assessment she passed, but Sayward has not committed to joining them yet. So she has abilities, and Sosi has her, said Sir Teddy. That would seem likely, sir. Then we have to find her. He is going to kill her. Do you know where she is? We think that she is in his property in Leicestershire, Elvington Manor. Sir Teddy raised his eyebrows at the name. We need to get her out of there. Is this something you can do? I know people, stated Walsh, but to do it safely we will need to be armed. That will be expensive. The life of another young woman is at stake, Nathan. Put a plan together, cost it, then come and talk to me. I can do that from here if you like. Sir Teddy nodded. The room next door is an office. Please feel free to use it. But first, can you pass me the laptop from the office desk? Walsh stood up and walked across to the heavy mahogany door, pulled the handle and opened it. He scanned the contents of the adjacent room and saw the laptop. He picked it up and strode across to the table with a decanter. On here, Sir Teddy. Thank you, Nathan. I will remain here. Sir Teddy pulled the disk out from the bottom of the second folder that Walsh had given him and inserted it into the laptop. Walsh went into the office and closed the door behind him. Sir Teddy opened the contents of the disk. There were a handful of folders, each labelled with the name of a property. The first was titled Elvington Manor. Sir Teddy opened the folder and started flicking through the pictures. He studied each one, looking at the faces and hoping that his theory was wrong, because if it were not, each of these faces represented a young woman who had been brutally tortured by this ancient monster. Sir Teddy flicked carefully through a couple of pictures, then one came up that made his eyes open wide. He stared at the image and zoomed into the face just to be certain. He shook his head and closed his eyes in an attempt to stop himself from crying. It had to be, he said as he dabbed his face with his handkerchief. He allowed himself a few more quiet sobs before composing himself, drying his eyes and pouring himself another whisky. He touched the face of the girl on the screen and closed his eyes. I'm so sorry, my dear, he whispered. Walsh entered the room a few moments later and noticed that the old man's eyes were red. Are you okay, Sir Teddy? I have composed myself, said Sir Teddy. I was looking for a particular person in the images you gave me. Someone who disappeared. Someone you knew. Sir Teddy turned the laptop around so that Walsh could see the face. This is her. I do not require you to break into any more houses and take any more pictures, Nathan. This is the one that I was looking for. A tear ran down his cheek and he shook his head. I had hoped that I was wrong. He took a deep breath. We must save Seward Amapofo. He took a sip from his third whisky. At any cost, Mr. Walsh. I don't care if it bankrupts me. We must save her and stop this man. Dun, dun, dun. Right. So those are the chapters I wanted to do tonight. Let me just run this last one through Grammarly so I can sign them off properly. Right, so file, export to Word. And then open Grammarly, which is in there. Bugger it. Please don't say I'm going to have to log in again. Come on, today'd be nice. Oh, come on. Right, let me just try typing Grammarly into here. Okay, no, it's there. Lovely. Right, let's drag chapter 12 into it. So general, neutral, tell a story, done. Okay. Walsh had a document case. It's a type of case, so that is correct. I thought let's remove the really though. Okay, let's lose the because. If it were not easy to say to anyone who had. God, is that all it's come up with for that one? Mind you, that chapter's hardly changed. Right, so download. Drag it there. Okay, and let's just open it. Copy it. Dump it into something that hasn't got formatting. And then finally paste it back into the final document. Okay. So that's done. Right, and unusually, I have already recorded my podcast today because this was the extra bit. I wasn't necessarily planning to come back and do this today, but I'm glad that I did. Right, so let's just drag that where I want it. Right, so let me just write that these are edited. So edited 16th of the 3rd, 25 plus Grammarly. Edited 16th of the 3rd, 25 plus Grammarly. And edited 16th of the 3rd, 25 plus Grammarly. There we go. So that is everything I wish to achieve today. It is done. I am happy. Hooray. I did print out some extra chapters in case I was in the mood to do it tonight. But you know what? I'm now at a point where I only have to do 3 a day to be able to finish on the deadline, the advanced deadline that I've set myself. I've already edited tomorrow's 3 chapters. They are done. All I've got to do is read through them and sign them off. So that's really good. And yeah, I'm in a good place. So that'll do me for tonight. I'd just like to thank various people who've, so Itanshi, the Fanfictioneer guy, Bow Street Society earlier, and the other chap whose name escapes me, but will probably on my phone if I have a look. Kenny HY. Thank you all so much for watching, joining in my stream today. That's me done for the night. I'll be back at some point tomorrow to do the next 3 chapters. Take care. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Nearly pressed the wrong button then. That would have looked ridiculous, wouldn't it?